I talked about it starts with clarity, and clarity provides a couple of things to us. One, it provides focus. What are we supposed to do right now? Clarity also creates understanding, and understanding is all about when do I do something and how do I do it? And finally, trust is, so who am I supposed to do this with, and who am I doing it for? Sir?
Aren't you effectively micromanaging?
If you hold on a little bit, we'll come back to that because it depends on what level you go to. If you micromanage and provide too many details, you bet. You bet.
Self-defeating.
It can be self-defeating. Absolutely. So let's take a look at this for a second from a simple example of clarity. So the other night, this teenage boy decided he wanted to borrow the family car. And he did. And his dad had one specific instruction for him. The dialogue went something like this. Didn't I ask you not to bring the car home with an empty gas tank? And the son's reply is, the fuel light wasn't on, and it made it into the driveway, so clearly the tank wasn't empty. Not being sarcastic. Dad says, if you don't understand me, you should have asked for clarity. And the son said, I understand what empty means, and the tank wasn't empty. So who's right? Who's right? They both are. They both are. Because they're using word and a term that absolutely positively has different meanings to those two individuals. Now, you may think that that seems a little ludicrous, but on your sheet you have an exercise, and I'd like you to go through this with me real quickly. So, there are no right or wrong answers to this little quiz. When something happens half of the time, tell me what percentage of the time that happens. Tell me verbally. How much? 50. Any other number? 100. Okay. So let's look at these other words, and now I want you to write these down if you would, please. Something happens sometimes. What percentage of the time does that happen? From your perspective, write it down. Frequently. What percentage of the time would something happen if it happened frequently in your organization? What about rarely? What about never? And what about always? What percentage of the time, if you heard those words, would you think? So let's go back for a second. If something happens sometimes, we'll do this just like an auction. Throw your answers out. On the high side, something happens sometimes, what percentage? 35, higher than 35. Lower than 35. 25, lower than 25. 20, lower than 20. 15, 5. Okay. So we've got 35% to 5%. Okay. What about frequently? What do we got? High side. 75, higher? 90, higher? More than half. Thank you. Okay. I got 90 on the high side. How about the low side? 30, lower than 30. Okay, 90% to 30%. Well, I sometimes answer questions from customers the way I'm supposed to. 90%, 30%, okay? How about rarely? 10, higher than 10? 20, higher than 20. Okay, 20 on the high side. How about the low side? Lower than 5? 1. Rarely. 20 to 1. Okay. How about never? All right. Who's got something other than 0? Thank you. What do you have, ma'am? 10? 5? Okay. What about always? 100? Anybody got below 100? 90? Okay. You get my point? We use words every single day in our business that we think everybody has the same definition for, and yet we may have a broad definition of that. All right, what words in your organization might you have a broad definition, something like are sometimes from 90% to 30%, and what words or terms are very clear? There's clarity for everybody regardless. Those are important words to know, like customer, like quality, like cost, like accountability, consistency. In addition to words, let's not forget acronyms, metrics, and jargon that's used in a business. All right? So if you've not been to this location, it's a very interesting one, but there's actually a website called Acronym Finder. And there's over 5 million acronyms and growing, and 1 million definitions. And so just out of curiosity, I put a couple of acronyms in. So LOL means what? Laugh out loud. Did you know it also means Land of Lincoln? There's actually 90 different definitions for that acronym LOL.